Good afternoon, and welcome to this special edition of the Federal Executive Forum celebrating 19 years of profiling IT mission programs in the federal government. This is our fourth annual Profiles in Excellence Chief Technology Officer program, which will be coming to you from the virtual studios of WTOP and the Federal News Network. I'm Luke McCormack. During today's show, we will discuss emerging technologies and innovation at the numerous government agencies and hear from key leaders making them happen. With me on today's show are David Larimore, Chief Technology Officer, Department of Homeland Security; Kashit Pandya, Chief Technology Officer, Internal Revenue Service; Doug Robertson, Chief Technology Officer, Small Business Administration; Christopher Wallace, Chief Information Security Officer and Chief Technology Officer, Program Executive Office, Defense Healthcare Management Systems; Greg Carl, Principal Technologist, Pure Storage; and Adam Clater, Chief Architect, North American Public Sector, Red Hat. A powerhouse panel, and I love the progression that we've made in the CTO community across the federal service, if I may say so myself. Long are the days of the chief technology officer and their team back in the corner, sort of playing in the sandbox. They're really at the forefront, unlocking the mission capabilities and staying ahead, forging different technologies. Dave, let's start with you. I know you're up to your waist in technology. Give us a state of the state as to where you're at.
Oh, thank you so much, Luke. First off, really, it is a pleasure to be back on this program. Yes, so right now, I think it is fair to say it is all AI all the time, right? So while my role has continued to be providing oversight of the 300 plus programs in the department, $10 billion of annual IT. Now we have to solve this really incredible opportunity that we have, and that is sort of safe, responsible, and transparent use of AI across the entire department. So I've had the joyous pleasure of working with numerous stakeholders across the department to define policy, to help bring in new vendors, new technologies, to help prioritize funding across the department and understand sort of what are going to be the biggest impact to the department and its mission. And also understanding what are some use cases that we can look at that help us sort of explore and get feedback on the use of AI technologies, realizing that there is a huge amount that we don't understand as far as the use of these technologies. There's a lot we don't understand as far as what are the specific levers and safety brakes we need to put inside of these technologies to make sure that they're being used responsibly. So it's just been an incredible time, and probably for the first time in my career, have I really felt that a lot of the organization is looking to the CTO role to really help do that in a safe, responsible way. So it's very, very exciting.
A lot of activity going on there. If I recall, over 20 sightings in the OMB memo for DHS in regards to your role in rolling that out collectively, safely across the community. So we certainly appreciate all the work being done there. Kashit, you all are on a tear over there. Every time I turn around and interact with the IRS, it gets more and more impressive. And I know that's due to a lot of this technology you're inserting.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me here today. I'm excited about the ability and the opportunity to highlight what exactly it is that we are doing here at the IRS. It is really truly has been an exciting time since the Inflation Reduction Act came out in 2022, and that provided us the very necessary funding. And we are leveraging those funds to help modernize the way that our customers, internal and of course our taxpayers, access the IRS. Our focus is to make sure we're providing better service, of course, continue to strengthen and reinforce our cybersecurity protections that we have to enable and implement and are in place. And as always, what is it that we want to provide and enhance and improve for our taxpayers each filing season? So as you mentioned, Luke, our role of the CTO has evolved, and it is no longer the back of the corner or back of the room. It is now an active participant and engaging with our business customers. As a CTO, I'm responsible for defining the IRS technology roadmap, ensuring that there's alignment with the overall IT vision, as well as the strategic business needs of the IRS. At the end of the day, technology is an enabler, and what technology is here to do is to help enable what the business needs, what our taxpayers are wanting and needing as well. I'm responsible for leading the development and implementation of innovative technology solutions that will help to enhance the agency's, efficiency, security, as well as the service delivery. We have a very, very highly complex environment, as you can imagine. I'm sure my fellow panelists do as well. We IRS interact with the more Americans really than nearly any other public or private organization. From a technology perspective, our focus is what is it that the industry is actively working towards? What is it that we need to do better and improve on providing services for our taxpayers? And in those cases, I don't think we can have a conversation these days without touching on AI. Now, from an IRS perspective, AI, ML, we've been working with that for a decade or more. Most of that has been focused on data analytics. However, the new kid on the block, or at least the new area of focus in AI, is generative AI, and that is now starting to come into prevalence as far as what it is that we want to do with it. How do we want to leverage it to provide better services for our taxpayers? The other area of focus for us is digital transformation, whether it's digitalization or digitization. The digital transformation is all about how do we, accurately provide the necessary data needed for our business customers to be able to then enhance or improve what they need to do to enable and improve the services provided for our taxpayers. But also, how do we focus on minimizing or reducing the paper backlogs that we have? We are not able to, of course, legally say we won't accept paper, but what do we do with the paper once it hits our doorsteps is our area of focus for digital transformation.
A lot of activity going on there, and you touched on AI once again, and such an opportunity to up the CX experience using that technology, of course, safely. Doug, you all are we're in the middle of an incredible transformation. I think the last time we had you on the show, post-COVID, you had to flip everything upside down, internally, externally. I know you've been on a modernization journey over there. We're really looking forward to this update.
Right. Thank you for having me. And we're part of the moving all the lending platforms into the unified lending platform. So we have successfully done that, have moved all disaster lending and capital access lending into its own platform hosted in AWS Cloud Stack.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah. So, but that's not the only unification and modernization and potential technologies we are looking at right now. We are also in the process, after the veteran certification system was released as well, we are moving to a unified certification platform so that all the applications for the SBA's programs such as 8A and veteran-owned small business, just service-disabled veteran-owned small business, will be able to have one application rather than 4 different places to go when you need to apply to re-upload all your documents and re-upload all your things. And it doesn't make sense to say, here's my business entity and all my information in one thing to get one certification of HubZone, and then, oh, I want to get veteran certified too. Let's upload all that again. So unifying that right now. And we are also focusing on the MySBA unified experience structure, which is for customer service. So we are creating a data layer. It's an enterprise data layer, an enterprise CRM, and an enterprise single sign-on and portal. The portal being a feed that will actually provide value back to the 33 million small business owners in the country. And we are doing that in different technologies and looking actually for that data stack for some AI analysis of it, because that's our largest problem is huge amounts of data. We have huge amounts of loan data. There's also fraud applications that we can use for AI and cybersecurity applications. So it's a lot of moving parts to try and keep on top of.
Fantastic. It sounds like you got your hands full and you're all over it on a march. So we really do appreciate that. And everyone that every small business owner out there or prospective small business owner certainly appreciates it. Christopher, let's talk about defense healthcare management systems, the state of the state over there. Give us an update.
There's a lot of moving parts, and thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
There's a lot of moving parts to the healthcare systems, as we know. The electronic health record is extremely important to our service members, their dependents, veterans. So we want to make sure we give that world-class, capability. And as we modernize, as we move forward, it's important that we keep that focus. We've been able to deploy 100% for our MHS Genesis electronic health record product to all the garrison, all the military treatment facilities within, globally, really. We've been able to do a lot with our joint partners, where we've got NOAA, Coast Guard, NSA is coming on board. So from the electronic health record perspective, there's a lot of innovation, a lot of modernization going on. There's a lot more work that needs to be continued, but it is a very dynamic system. The longitudinal record of care can be accessed anywhere in the world. There is no missing procedures or paperwork, ever again. We really want to make sure that it's seamless from the time that soldier comes in and raises his right hand to the time that he's a veteran and needing care from the VA. So it's very important that we're able to give that line of care, right? And to make sure that if that record is needed, it's there when it's needed. That the provider, the patient care itself is optimized. That we're able to really provide what defense health needs. That agency is very important, to the entire DoD. So it's something that we want to make sure we do our part. We have portions in operational medicine, right? Our joint operational medicine group. We have the operational medicine data service, which acts as a backbone to provide critical data transport and management capabilities to multiple different systems, from our combatant commands all the way through to our larger hospitals, things like that. That includes all the legacy systems, all the systems that are currently in development. The OMDS is there to create a smooth digital transaction. The smoother we can make it, the faster we can make it, right? Because we want those services to be very clean, very straightforward, and easier to use, right? That's a very big key. Healthcare can be quite difficult to navigate sometimes. So our part in that electronic health record is to make sure that we are able to modernize and innovate to give that very straightforward and very clean aspect to utilization of all those tools. We've been able to incorporate a lot of the military service work. There's the health assessment light operations tool that Army has called Halo. We've been able to integrate that tool. So there's a lot of really, really good things happening within the space. Technology is constantly changing. Healthcare is changing. And we have to be able to do it at speed and scale. So it's a very important thing that we're trying to keep on that forefront. And
you make a very good point about both healthcare changing rapidly and the technology. So it's fantastic that you've been able to pull those two dynamics together and create that capability and experience for all the service members. So we certainly do appreciate that and everything that the service members are doing on behalf of this country. Greg, let's talk about Pure Storage and all the capabilities over there. I always like to sort of flirt with this idea of Pure Storage is way bigger than storage. So tell us what you're doing in regards to across the spectrum, state of the state, as to how this technology is helping unlock these capabilities.
Well, thank you, Luke. A lot of what we're doing is making sure our customers are really being aligned with what we're able to offer with our data services management platform, and that's aligning to their overall data strategy. So no matter where they are in their digital journey, whether it be consolidation, a unification of services, a broadening of services, but most importantly, making sure that it's very data centric, that we can now have a platform that's available to be not only scalable, but secure, right? Be able to iterate that wheel as quickly as possible without any sort of compromise to our core ethics, what we have in the federal space. On top of that, when we look at things from a broader spectrum, if we have this sort of scalable, resilient platform, I can now be more aligned for the whatever the .next initiative might be. Today, we're talking about a lot of AI and generative AI, but how can we iterate that wheel faster by iterating, but more importantly, bring it all together to have a single solution that is strategic and not really looking at the foundations of storage and being more focused on the data, no matter where it resides.
Fantastic, and I love that that unique terminology, .NET initiative. Adam, let's talk about Red Hat and where you all fit into this. Of course, you're striped across the public sector, you're striped across the private sector. Give us a state of the status to what you're seeing from your vantage point.
Yeah, it's so interesting, right, Luke? Because the one thing that I hear consistently from everybody on this panel, sort of everyone that I'm talking to across government, is that the change is constant and faster than ever. And so we're really helping our customers adapt to that. And so some of the exciting things that we've been doing, obviously we were acquired by IBM back in 2018, 2019. What that has meant for us is that we've been able to exert a little bit of influence over IBM, some of the things that they've been doing. And so recently,
I
IBM
love the tail wagging the dog.
teaching the elephant to dance, right? There was a book about that. And so recently, IBM built what they're calling the Granite large language model. And what's great about that language model is that they can very clearly define all of the sources that model was built with, and they used all non-copyrighted data, or if it was copyrighted, they went out and got a license for it. And so that's really interesting. But more interesting than that is that they've now published that under an Apache 2 license. So it's fully open sourced, that large language model. And we're going to be shipping that as part of RHEL AI. It's going to be available on our platform, OpenShift. And so as you think about large language models, I could go to Granite or ChatGPT and I could ask it to, give me a dissertation on Abraham Lincoln. And it could do a great job of doing that. But if I asked it to use some of the data within my data center to help identify securities fraud, for example, it might have a little bit harder of a time doing that. And the reality is that large language models, though incredibly intelligent, they're a little bit genericized. And so where we're seeing government agencies want to go is to get sort of their domain specific knowledge into a model. And so we've been working with IBM and IBM Labs to enable customers to bring their data into a large language model to train that model so that it has a little bit of a better understanding of what the knowledge workers within your agency has. And so the ability to bring that domain specific knowledge and that analysis to very specific problem set within the agencies is really the next step for AI adoption across all of them. That training process and that building and tweaking of models, as I'm sure Kashit knows, they've been in the business of doing that data analysis for 10 years, he mentioned. It takes a lot of work to get there. And the reality is, you start this process with a developer with maybe a workstation and some sort of an accelerator in that workstation, sort of testing and working. Maybe they're doing it on their laptop, but that really doesn't scale to an enterprise perspective. And so when it comes time to do the much larger model analysis, implement those models, those are largely massively parallel operations that we see running in the data center, which naturally means they end up often running on Kubernetes. And so building a Kubernetes platform that's AI knowledgeable, understands the back end of AI with partners like NVIDIA and others, and bringing that to a real enterprise approach to building those models and more importantly, to allocating the resources that are required. Let's be honest, these GPU type resources are not only very expensive, they're also very scarce in the marketplace. They can be very, very difficult to get a hold of. So as government agencies start to do that model training, having a platform that's aware of those resources and able to bring those workloads to that hardware just in time is also a lot of what we're focused on in training and of course, hosting those models once they're ready for production.
And we really do appreciate all the hard work that you're doing and all the hard work that the agencies are doing. The work is hard, the payoff is tremendous. All right, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We're talking all things in the CTO domain. Doug, I'm going to throw it over to you, and let's talk about a specific program, a specific effort that you'd like to highlight for the listening audience.
So the specific program that I'd like to highlight at the SBA is the MySBA Unified Experience Structure, which I mentioned before, of Enterprise Single Sign-On, Portal, Enterprise CRM, and Enterprise Data Layer. There are many other initiatives that are going on at the SBA, but this one is the technology one that is attempting to cross everybody's silo. And that is the quite difficult one, because the whole goal is that in a field office of the SBA, when a small business owner walks in, that you can pull up the information from that field agent that has every phone call they've actually made, every application they did they apply for a different certification program? Do they have a loan? Did they have a PPP or another type of COVID-19 loan? Was there a disaster for them? And what different businesses do they have? What's the ownership structure in between each one? And do they qualify for anything else that they may not know about? And gathering that all together across the various offices is critical to populate that customer data into the CRM. And the backing of that is the functional data layer, where we're going to have to actually read replicas. Some stuff is still on-prem. A bunch of stuff is in the cloud, but we have all
That's the
different
world
clouds.
we're living in, right?
Yeah. And so integrating all that data, cleaning it up, because there's a very different aspect of, do you identify it as the business or do you identify it as the person in that? And trying to fit that together, because one person can have 50 businesses, or one business can have 50 owners. And so putting that together into a useful customer profile is part of the trick that you need to do. And not only in getting all that information for the field offices and anybody else at the SBA who will have secure access to actually look at that CRM data, the data layer itself is setting up a data cloud that we can actually run analytics on. And those analytics can be run anywhere, the old SQL, or we have actually output to different analytics platforms across different types of software, and for visualization, because most people don't understand with these huge amounts of data, and then you get a bunch of different information back, how we can actually put those together. And the idea of that one is finally getting to know what the different segments of our customer are. So if we have a neighborhood that's next to a major city, and like this one neighborhood is actually, they got a bunch of loans and they're all applying for loans, but the neighborhood right next to them is not, you would figure that shouldn't be the case if it's the same field office. Why is there one place that is actually being served by the SBA and the other place seemingly not served by the SBA? And so solving that problem across the United States beyond the United States, because there's 68 district offices, is a tough challenge. And you need to have that insight into it in order to look at who's not getting the services from the SBA and how we can sort of market these extra services up the SBA that you can take advantage of, from anywhere from the SBIR grants to the disaster lending to capital access lending for your new startup. There's a whole bunch of different ones. So that's what we're working on.
Interesting ways to be able to slice that. No doubt you can also identify fraud in there as well. So appreciate everything that you all are doing over there. David, let's go up to you at Homeland Security. I know you all are working on some, you talked about AI. I know you all are working on some very interesting pilots, but I'll leave it up to you to tell us something that you'd like to highlight for the listening audience.
No, I have to talk about the pilots. Luke, they're just so exciting, right? So several months ago, we announced our AI pilots, right? And so what is different with these pilots at DHS than sort of everything else going on is this is the first time where the entire department is working together on solving this problem, right? And that problem is safe, transparent, and responsible use of AI. So we have kicked off 3 pilots in 3 different components using 3 different models in 3 different operating environments.
Wow.
And We have inclusion of representatives from components that are not involved in the pilots, helping out in responsible use groups and oversight groups to sort of get feedback and learn more about the use cases. We've got folks from the U.S. Digital Service coming to help us sort of rationalize all of the different uses that we have. Right.
And Dave, if I may, just define what a component is, and maybe which components are the where the pilots are.
All right. Yes. So the Department of Homeland Security has many agencies and bureaus, and the language that we tend to use to represent those sub agencies and bureaus are components. But ultimately, we're talking about FEMA, USCIS, Customs and Border Protection, Secret Service. Right, those are all components of DHS, but most of the public knows them as agencies and bureaus. Yes, thank you. So we have 3 pilots that we are running. One is at FEMA, and that is actually a externally facing pilot. We have a responsibility around doing resilience planning in communities. And so that is actually a very long process involving hundreds of pages of documentation put together. So we're looking at leveraging generative AI to sort of help the communities put those resilience plans together. USCIS has a use case around training where our adjudicators have a series of in-person and actual actor-led trainings that they do. So we're looking at leveraging generative AI chatbots to emulate certain types of actors and scenarios and situations, which has been really sort of a very cool use case in not only taking advantage of generative AI, but in some ways breaking generative AI, because a lot of our interviews relate to sort of folks dealing with some really dangerous situations in foreign countries. So having the generative AI sort of emulate those use cases have been really interesting. And we've gotten a lot of feedback on USCIS and sort of how to compensate for that, what models are best in supporting those use cases. And last but not least, HSI, Homeland Security Investigations. So this is really more of a law enforcement sensitive use case, but the idea is we're doing case summarization and searching in notes. So, one case may have, red truck, another case may have red Toyota Tacoma. And previously, it's sort of hard for us to really make the correlation between the 2 cases and the 2 sets of evidence. So being able to apply semantic searching and generative AI to the issue, we're actually able to provide a level of searching and awareness to law enforcement officers that we never really had today. So those are just 3 examples of where we're looking at embedding generative AI into the mission and doing it safely and responsibly.
Fantastic, and we really appreciate the top line on those use cases. Greg, I'm going to roll over to you at Pure Storage. Again, I know you're working across many agencies across the private sector as well. Give us an example of one that you'd like to highlight.
Absolutely. And really what it boiled down to is within the DoD space, we've already heard a lot about consolidation. How can we do more with less? It's a challenge that all of us have. And really what it came down to is, hey, we want to do the next thing. Like we said, hey, I want to do more with my data. And what it came down to is it was a generative AI initiative or AI initiative in general, or really enhancing that aspect. And the challenge was the data could not keep up with the processing. It could not generate the amount it needed to actually churn through and create the amount we have. So by simplifying the concept of a data services and management platform and giving that scalability, and most importantly, making infrastructure an afterthought. I think that's the biggest thing about AI and generative AI we've kind of missed is it's not technically a technical initiative. It's more of a human initiative, right? It's about enhancing the human experience and making sure that as we get closer and closer to this concept of digital government, this is exactly what you're helping our customers do, is making infrastructure transparent and getting closer to those outcomes. That's exactly what we're doing within the DoD space as well.
We really do appreciate that and all the hard work that's going on there. Chris, how about at DHMS? A specific example that you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one because we have 3 exceptional program management offices that fall underneath our PEO. So it's tough. But I think the JOMS program management office and that OMDS that I talked about was, that the power of that digital backbone, being able to transport and provide a lot of the capabilities that we really need. But it's the pieces that fit into that, right? It's what we call theater blood mobile, right? That it's that mobile capability for when you're in a combat theater or you're in an austere environment. You're looking for, is effectively a blood bank. What candidates do you have locally? What can you pull together or aggregate throughout that entire theater in order to provide that on the spot or those blood needs to soldiers, patients, as things go on, right? So that's the OMDS helps really push that piece of it, but it also has what we call MedCop, right, which is the medical common operating picture. So it's that capability that feeds that OMDS piece allows for your surgeons, your command surgeons, your medical operations commanders to have that visibility, to be able to look and be the most informed that they can be in near real-time capability, right? Because having that information, knowing what's going on in the theater helps you provide that care better and faster, right? So it's very important to us and that backbone of that OMDS capability really provides that agility and that speed to be able to give that in that near real time capability. So it's like I said, there's so many different pieces that go into that, right? How all of the different combatant commands and those surgeons and everything from that point of injury all the way to the time that soldier has to leave or go out to a larger hospital for that health. That OMDS is a key piece. It's a very integral part of making sure that healthcare is at that world-class level.
Sounds fascinating and highly complex, and shame on me for, I'm thinking when you're talking about this stuff, a veterans hospital, et cetera. I'm not thinking in theater on the ground. So it's fascinating and impressive that you've got to bring all that capability down on the ground there into the theater. So we really do appreciate that. Adam, how about at Red Hat? Can you give us an example that a program that you'd like to highlight here?
Yeah. So, internally at Red Hat, we're, of course, really excited to be working with sort of across the entire federal government. One of the things that's really enhancing that ability is we recently got our NOAA agency authorization for FedRAMP around OpenShift, our platform. And so that's it. That's the ROSA platform within Amazon AWS. So what that's going to give agencies the opportunity to do is drop down a lot of the O&M of operating that platform and move that into the cloud where they're going to find their data. On the other side of the coin, another conversation we're having with CTOs and the CIO's office, and sometimes in the CFOs, is around virtualization. I know that hasn't been brought up yet on this call, but the reality is the marketplace is changing pretty dramatically around virtualization. And so we're seeing a lot of customers expressing interest around the ability to use OpenShift virtualization. Gives you the ability to run virtual machines on our platform, on our Kubernetes platform. And so that, I think, is also really transformative for the federal government as they start to look at a post-Broadcom acquisition of VMware, what that is really going to look like for them. So we're excited to be having those conversations. Obviously, we're excited to have our FedRAMP. Lots of modernization activities going on, Luke, with applications, and then a lot of automation going on with our Ansible platform. So many agencies are looking to automate so much of their infrastructure, especially as part of zero trust implementations. And so we're playing a big role in that as well.
Yeah, I mean, in order to, sort of operate at speed of mission, you have to automate, right? That's just the bottom line there. So appreciate you all unlocking that capability for the agencies to meet that mission. Kashit, I am dying to hear the program that you want to highlight. The listening audience here. Because I might end up using it.
I hope you do. I hope you do. Trying to pick one program is it's like trying to find or pick your favorite child. We have so many efforts and initiatives going on. I'd love to highlight two, one in the AI space, one in the digital transformation space. In the AI space, We're being careful about generative AI because we are all aware of the concerns around, hallucinations, bias, et cetera. So a little bit more of a cautious approach there. However, we have applied AI learning, machine learning for translation. Our taxpayers speak many, many languages, and we want to provide the same fair and equitable service to the taxpayer, regardless of the language that you speak. However, the challenge that we have had is we may not necessarily have the expertise within IRS to easily and quickly translate those languages. So we have started and have been applying AI machine translation for languages to help us expedite the review times for our internal, customer service representatives and team members. We have seen some really drastic improvements. We have reduced the time necessary for translation by over 90%. So we want to get everybody up to par, especially those non-English speakers, so that we are able to provide them the services that the English speakers tend to get and the review times for their returns and anything they're sharing or working with us on, that now they are getting the same level of service as anyone else is if your primary language is English. So that's the AI part. The digital transformation part is we have, I know I certainly do, I'm assuming all of you do as well. Last time I ever went into a bank was never. Right? When I can receive a check or if I get anything, I am able to quickly take a picture of it from my phone and deposit it. We want to provide that same type of capabilities. We have a solution called Document Upload Tool that lets you take a picture of something that you need to submit to the IRS and using that, submit it to us. In fact, we just recently celebrated our 1 millionth document being submitted through the Document Upload Tool. So it is a service we want to provide to make it easier for all of our taxpayers to interact with us in a more digital manner. So exciting times here.
I really do appreciate that. And I know that everyone is, well, obviously they're using it because there's a million of them, using the technology to be able to upload that information into that environment. So we really do appreciate that. All right, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We are talking to the CTOs, and we're going to start talking about priorities for this year. Kashit, I'm going to start with you. Number one priority that you're focused on this year, have to get done in 2024.
Improving the digital experience and enhancing the services and capabilities we are providing to our taxpayers. Oftentimes when we talk about taxpayers, we're focused on the individual taxpayer, but of course we also, collect and work with businesses. So our top priority for this coming year, making sure that we are enhancing that presence, the digital presence that is available for our taxpayers. The individual online account, the business tax account, and the tax pro are all users of our services. We want that experience to be like any other experience that you might have in working with other financial services, where you have a single, pane of glass for all of the work, all of the information that you're seeking, all of the engagement interaction you want to have with us, and expanding what you are able to do within that single portal versus having to go and navigate across the website to figure out where my refund status is, but that's a different page than where is my transcript. Consolidating all of those services and enhancing and improving how we communicate with you and you are able to communicate with us using a medium you prefer is exactly what we want to focus on for this coming year.
Unlock the IRS using digital technology. We love it. Christopher, number one priority for you at DHMS.
I mean, I think overall, I'm wearing both hats. We have to talk the security piece, right? Making sure that we're providing the highest level of resilience and survivability for our systems, since we're part of the DoD naturally. But that means meeting all the zero trust pieces, all of the other discussions that go around the executive orders, OMB directives, things like that. Especially around hybrid encryptions, the post-quantum view of things, which isn't as readily talked about right now. So it's something that we are continuing to look into and see how we can do that, because protecting that data is very, very key for us, because the information that you can get from an electronic health record is very sensitive. So we want to make sure that we're providing all that protection, all of those needs. One of the other big initiatives, I think, is the Digital First initiative from DHA, right? Being able to provide that flexible healthcare options for the patients, ensuring they have that real-time information exchange, increasing the satisfaction, for the patient, being able to get that reliable care, being able to look at how they're able to access it from anywhere at any time, from a mobile application, being able to do telemedicine, things like that. That's another initiative that it's that maturation of how we can access those electronic health records, how we can provide that world-class care for the patients.
Absolutely digital first and done securely. Adam, top priority for Red Hat this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it continues to be to harness innovation, where we find it. So certainly at Red Hat, we participate in a lot of open source communities, and bringing that innovation to government in a way that meets the lifestyle and life cycle of government needs. Chris just mentioned the need for quantum safe encryption. We are actively awaiting our certifications and accreditations around our quantum safe encryption. But we don't only bring forth innovation from open source communities. We find that government itself is innovating. We've got system integrators innovating. And so building platforms where that innovation can continue to thrive. And the reality is, where the innovation needs to land has also changed pretty dramatically over the course of the last 10 years. So we're finding that our government customers need to field innovation at the edge. It may be on the back of a Humvee. It may be on a drone. It may be in a data center. It may be in a cloud. Wherever that innovation needs to be, Red Hat's really working to make sure that we can provide those platforms where they need to be to drive that mission when it needs to be there.
Outstanding. David Larimore, top of the job jar for you this year.
Okay, so DHS recently announced their AI roadmap, which has some areas there. And my priority is supporting those by deploying the DHS AI Core. So announced in February of this year, DHS is hiring 50 experts to join its one-of-a-kind AI Core. So we are we've received 7,000 applications since then. We've, submitted 35 job offers, et cetera. We currently have, I think over 10 people on board right now. And, folks from Meta, folks from Google, Amazon, et cetera, you name it, are really coming to help the DHS mission and
Outstanding.
Yeah, no, it has been probably one of the most just fantastic initiatives of my career. I cannot tell you how exciting it has been to work with these incredible folks that literally come on board, and day one are just able to execute, which has just been phenomenal. So getting them on board is going to help us with delivering the AI roadmap, right? So transforming the mission on how we're using AI, responsible use. So, being able to help AI critical infrastructure across the U.S. and sort of how are we going to provide safety and security on that side, and then of course continuing to lead AI through strong cohesive partnerships. So that AI core is going to be deployed across the mission set at DHS. And so, bringing those folks on board, continuing to keep our sights on having them come help us is really what's keeping me up at night.
Fantastic. Bring the talent on board and then deliver. We really do appreciate it. Greg, top priority for you at Pure Storage this year.
Well, it's doing more of the same, right? So we just had some major recent announcements of things we're enabling within our data services management platform. One of them being a guarantee SLA-backed throughput for AI-based workloads. So if you want guaranteed throughput for iterating as quickly as possible for that data set, that's something we can enable now. Most importantly, we actually have introduced an AI co-pilot for infrastructure. So when I talk about making infrastructure visible, being more focused on the data, What better way to iterate that? Being having to have those sort of proactive approaches of infrastructure challenges, security approaches, making sure that our data is consistent at scale. And this is across our entire portfolio: FlashArray, FlashBlade, our Portworx platform. But most importantly, as we bring all this together, and now we can enable a new experience with our Fusion platform, which really is storage as code. So as we start to talking about, where our data resides, making sure we have that consistent experience with our data, but making sure it's performant, it's scalable, it's secure, no matter where it resides. If it's in on-prem, in colo, in the public cloud, as we talking about this data mobility concept, making sure everything is consistently secure, scalable, but most importantly, we're not compromising any experience. And that's the only way we're really going to really maximize this capability of true digital government and that interaction with constituents that all of our customers are trying to get within the federal space.
Really do appreciate that focus area. Doug, SPA, number one priority for you.
Enhancing customer experience, both internal and external, across the agency and across all the different technologies. I mean, it is the number one priority, and it's not all the whole next fiscal year. It's this calendar year is implementation year. We have multiple releases coming out in August for different programs, cross your fingers. And that is our major plan for the next year. And we are looking into multiple different AI use cases in pursuit of that customer experience. AI actually in call centers that actually is part of transcription and knowledge base. AI in statutes, laws, and regulations, enable to understand it so you don't have to go through all of that. We're looking at different large language models that are over in OCA, AI in fraud, AI in cybersecurity, and many other things surrounding that, but also to make sure that none of the data escapes in any of these actual implementations, and infrastructure is kind of the crucial piece, because ChatGPT, you could just take somebody's information, post it in there, and then all of a sudden that's now outside your boundary. So all in pursuit of internal and external customer experience.
Love the upping the game, both the employee experience and the customer experience externally. All right, well, we're going to have to wrap it up, and we always like to end with that question: paint a picture of the future. Let's fast forward a couple of years and talk about what it's going to look like then. Adam, I'm going to start with you at Red Hat. What are we looking at? What's in the coming out of the Petri dish going to be front and center for you?
Yeah, I think that obviously AI is rapidly changing the game. I think that what we're going to be seeing in the future, we've got a large language models that are working on text and kind of the chat bot type of experience. I think you're going to see a lot of agencies pointing those towards modernization of application code and refactoring applications. So we're going to see a lot of automated code, whether it be migration from COBOL to new modern languages, which is really going to speed up a lot of the digital transformation that we've been talking about. I think we're going to continue to see this sort of tug of war between the data center and the cloud. Someone mentioned earlier today that sort of the nature of business today is very hybrid. I think that's going to continue. I think that we're going to find that we're going to have small data centers at the edge. We're going to have large data centers. We're going to have clouds. We're getting much closer to our cloud and AI experience being that of what has traditionally been high performance computing and supercomputing realms. So I think that's also very interesting when we start talking about marshaling some of those resources. So I think it's exciting times. I think it's especially exciting times in the government because I think the reality is we're all here, whether you're a civil servant or whether you're a partnered with the government, we're all here trying to make this thing work better and operate a little more efficiently, protect lives. So thanks to all the panelists for the work that you do and the opportunity to work with you.
And thanks for everything that you all are doing there at the Red Hat team. Greg, Pure Storage, what's the focus area going to be 2 years from now? What's the environment going to look like as far as Pure Storage capabilities?
Well, it's great you asked that, Luke, because at the end of the day, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be where are we focused and how we focus on our data, right? Everything we have talked about, where it resides, security of our data, or zero trust policies, it's all centric around data. And that's exactly what we are focused on. And when I look at what our customers are trying to do with that data, whether it be introducing new AI models, whether it be a matter of optimizing how I'm doing things today, we've talked about iterating to be able to do code and modernization efforts even faster. all requires speeds and feeds. And if we can make that infrastructure component as transparent as possible, we can help our constituents honestly get closer to that digital government experience by making our agencies be able to iterate the wheel quicker and faster, like doing a lot more with a lot less, but at the same time, maintaining that consistent security posture, maintaining that ability to scale when needed, but most importantly, having that consistency all the way across.
Really do appreciate everything the Pure Storage team is doing. Chris, DHMS, you got a lot of activities going on over there. Fast forward 2 years, are all these things going to be done and we're up and running and everything's nirvana out in the theaters? What's it going to look like 2 years from now?
Countries are easy. We know that, right? But if COVID taught us anything, it's that the functional changes that we have to do, to deliver that healthcare have to be comprehensive, right? It really has to benefit the entire landscape. So part of what we need to do is work through this first step that we're on of innovating that infrastructure, right? Building out what we need to do, bringing our partners in industry into parity with us so that we can be adaptable, we can have that integration continue, that we can really progress at the speed and the efficiency that we need to, because things aren't going to slow down for us. The security of the healthcare markets in general is a hot button item right now, and it's something that we have to continue to iterate and make sure that we continue to feed and make sure that we stay secure. In the DoD, we've done a pretty good job so far, and we definitely don't want to step backwards. We want to continue to innovate forward, really make sure that what we do and digitizing those patient-centric capabilities, that adding that value, in a safe and secure way is really what we want to try to accomplish in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, that digital capability and the zero trust architecture really came together at a perfect time there. So we really do appreciate it. Doug, how about at the Small Business Administration? If I go on there and ask for a loan today versus if I log on there and ask for a loan 2 years from now, I mean, we heard you. It sounds like your administrator is saying we're going to do customer experience today, not tomorrow. What's going to change over 2 years?
Well, you'll have one login and you won't have 10 for different services. Yeah. And one application that should share all your uploaded documentation across the different programs that you're going to have. And you should be able to say, hey, I talked to somebody in the San Francisco office and had this problem. They'll go, oh, yeah, here's your case. Here's your information.
Nice.
So that's what we want to get to for it. And it's also a do more, even more with less. The expectations are now increasing exponentially, right? Now that AI is actually out there, everybody thinks it's going to work perfectly and cost nothing. And that's like in the movies. And we need to make that kind of happen in the next 2 years to get to that accuracy and get to that customer service.
Really do appreciate it. It sounds awesome. A daunting task, but I know you all are up for it. Kashit, how about at the IRS? 2 years fast forward, you've got this digital upload. I know you all are doubling down on the customer experience. What can we expect from the IRS 2 years from now?
Yeah, I'd love to say, ditto to Adam and Doug's responses. We're aligned in that same space. First and foremost, expand that digital footprint so that the taxpayers are able to engage with us in a manner that they choose and that is most convenient and efficient and effective for them. So we want to continue to expand on that. Consolidate the services. So again, having that one-stop shop. You don't have to go hunting around the IRS websites or trying to figure out where you go for one service and where you go for another service. One-stop shop, expanded features and capabilities so that when you engage with us, you have the ability to do so in a digital manner that you prefer, whether it's, with a live chat or simply uploading a piece of document through your phone, etc. Of course, generative AI is going to play a huge role in how we engage and interact. While an IRS, a chat IRS will be helpful, we're focused more on the inside of our organization. We want to try and help to accelerate, improve, and enhance how our users are able to work through either paper or the volumes of data that we have and collect so that they can provide services back to the taxpayers in a more effective and efficient manner. So I think you're going to see improvement to the taxpayer's experience, both by the services we provide externally for them and how we provide and leverage the technologies to improve the experience for our own users, which in turn will be reflected in how our taxpayers engage with us and what we can do in a faster and a better approach.
Really do appreciate that, and a good catch on the internal customer experience, employee experience there. That will then enhance the, of course, the customer experience. So we're looking forward to that. That is for sure. Mr. Larimore, fast forward 2 years from now, pilots are done. You're implementing some type of capability using the lessons learned out of these pilots. What can we expect 2 years from now? What's a chief technology officer at the Department of Homeland Security going to be doing 2 years from now?
Oh man, my goodness. So I'm trying to break this down into something that's, there's an elephant there in what you just said. So I'm trying to break that down. So what we're going to see in the next 2 years in the department as the chief technology officer is two areas. One is I think we are, while I am so darn proud of these pilots we're doing in the work in Gen AI, I do think the government in itself is in a slow down to speed up phase around AI. With the executive orders, with the OMB memo, it's really a call for, hey, let's take a break. Let's figure out what we've implemented. Let's understand why we've implemented it. Let's measure it. Let's test it, et cetera. And so over the next 2 years, from an AI perspective, I think what you're really going to see in the department is a commitment to the safe, transparent, and responsible use of AI when it comes to being able to notify the public on sort of as much as we can, be transparent around it, revalidate testing, acceptance criteria, performance testing, et cetera. Like it's going to be huge, and that's actually going to lead to us being able to rapidly create AI in the future. On the second side of things is sort of like, when it comes to the customer experience, honestly, that was a missing piece for us, right? We had Agile, we had DevOps, we had cloud. It's been huge for almost a decade. Adding CX created that software factor. It was that last piece of the puzzle that the department needed to create a holistic program around sort of how do we have a software system that rapidly delivers capabilities to the customers. So with the creation of our customer experience directorate over in OCIO, you're going to start seeing a rapid pace in which we are looking at customer experience, which is going to lead to the things that Katja was talking about and Doug was talking about around consolidating that experience, about providing that single point of entry, that single, looking at the intersection of biometrics and identity and portals and access and interfaces is really going to explode over the next 2 years as we start rationalizing what does it mean to be part of the Department of Homeland Security and realizing that there is a journey that almost everyone takes at the department, every citizen takes, that involve multiple components or agencies and bureaus of DHS. And I think that's going to be so exciting.
Yeah, I think every citizen certainly appreciates these enhanced and enriched customer experiences, so to speak, as you all go on this technology journey internally. All of you go on this technology journey internally to make that available to each and every citizen. And on that note, I want to thank each one of you for taking the time out of your busy schedule today to join us on this program. We really do appreciate everything that you're doing to fight the good fight every single day. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors for supporting us on this show. I'd like to thank the good people here at Federal News Network that make our program so successful and enjoyable. And most of all, I'd like to thank the listening audience out there that tune in every single month. You've been listening to the Federal Executive Forum, part of the Federal News Network.